Hi, good evening, everyone. So, uh, let us just start. I think we already have about 8 or 10 people. There is, okay, give me one more second. There is one more test that I'm waiting for. All right, so hello, everyone. Let us start this discussion around this WAT workshop. Uh, Let me just quickly take you through what exactly we are going to cover. There are basically 4 stepping stones that we have, and here is the flow of the workshop that's going to go. The first thing is that we are going to discuss what exactly is the role of this WAT in the admission process. For example, I mean, what exactly is the approximate contribution in the selection process of WAT? That's what we are going to discuss in the first step. I think I've just made very few slides here so that we can quickly just rush over all these things. And our focus should be writing 1 or 2 or maybe 3 WATs and then understanding what exactly should have been written, what should have been the correct structure of writing a WAT. And we should also just see that what exactly is the area of improvement we have so that we can just write a good WAT that we have in 2 days. The second step will be learning effective WAT writing strategies. So there are some very standard exercises, some very standard things. I'll be just sharing them so that we have them in our brain while we are writing these WATs. The third is the most important step. That is the entire purpose of this workshop, that we will just practice a few WATs, and then we'll see that what exactly is the outcome, how good the outcome is, and then we'll just take some random samples and then I'll lead them. And the last thing is the personalized feedback. After just having looked at a few WATs, we will see that what exactly is the shortcoming and where the area of improvement exists. Starting with the first thing. So WAT, see, there is uh, no no standard uh, contribution that has been given by IIM Bangalore, that this is the contribution of WAT in the entire selection process. But according to the PGDM, because there they have declared that contribution of WAT in the selection process is approximately 10 to 20%. So that is what I have written here, that consider this WAT as one of the very important criteria for the selection, because its weightage is going to be approximately 10% on the lesser side. What exactly the WAT is going to test is that it's going to test the depth and clarity of the thoughts and also the written communication. WAT is not about, just writing in a very fancy way. It's not about simply communicating what you think, what your opinion is. It is about writing in depth. That means you need to understand what exactly the topic is talking about. You also have to write about the introduction in your own way so that the reader can understand that you have understood this WAT in a very correct way, and then you are just following the different parts and you are just writing the remaining parts of the WAT. What it represents is it should reflect the awareness of the current issue. And that is where a major question mark is going to come in, because the WAT can come from very different kind of topics, and there might be a few topics that you may not be aware of. And if something like that comes, then I can only say that uh, God just helps you with some insights. Otherwise, all you have to do is, in the next 1 or 2 days that we have left, because day after tomorrow, most people have to write this WAT. So you have to ensure that you cover all the current topics that are there in the media, so that at least there is some part sure that if something comes from that area, you should be able to write around that. The fourth part is it demonstrates the logical reasoning and articulation. You also have to just recapitulate entire WAT so that you can just keep a balance between different perspectives that you have portrayed in your WAT body, which shows that you are using your logical reasoning skills and then you're not putting your biases into the WAT. That is one of the key parts. So these are certain parts, how exactly we are going to cover them and in which parts we are going to cover them, that is represented in this slide. Basically, the first thing that you have to do is you have to just distribute the time so that you can put your thoughts in the right way. And then you have to write the entire WAT. While you start writing, many a times it happens that you make several grammatical errors, but you do not acknowledge them while you are writing because you are in a flow. At least the flow of the thoughts is right there. So what you have to do is you also have to spare 5 minutes so that towards the end you can just review the entire WAT and then see if there is any inconsistency somewhere, if there is any lack of connection or transition between your thoughts that you have portrayed in WAT, then you can just give a good connectors there. I hope all of you must have received an email from IIM Bangalore that this WAT is going to give you a total of 30 minutes. So that 30 minutes we have distributed into 3 parts. 5 minutes, you have to just think what exactly are the areas that you are going to cover. What are the pros and cons of a particular topic? And then you also have to write several keywords so that you have an understanding of what exactly are the primary themes that you are going to incorporate while writing the WAT. The second part is writing it in a very correct chronological order so that there is a good flow of thoughts that is reflected in your body. And the last is you have to just spare 5 minutes to review it. And I think there is a very detailed instruction about the WAT that you will be given enough time to understand the entire interface. And then the time will start when you have gone through the entire instruction list, and then you have to start writing. We divide the entire WAT into 3 different parts. The first part is the introduction, in which you have to write the context and your stance as well, that what exactly is your understanding about the topic. The second part comes as the body of it. That means you have to give your logical arguments, and those logical arguments should always be backed by several facts that you are aware of. That is where your general knowledge comes into picture, and you also have to just give a few examples which are relevant if you can just think of a few. And this is exactly where the depth of your understanding of a topic will be tested. The last part is conclusion. Conclusion should be concise and impactful. And this is the area where your logical ability to connect all the dots and your ability to balance all the views that you have portrayed will be tested. So these are 3 parts in which you have to clearly focus. You have to be very, very clear what exactly has to be written in which part. And you should already have this kind of mapping right in the beginning on a paper. You are allowed to have one rough sheet, so you can just keep that handy. You can have one pen or one pencil so that you can just do some scribbling before you start writing your thoughts into that area. The WAT cannot exceed 250 words because the window that you will have available will only be capable of handling 250 words. So you have to make sure that everything is taken care of in those 250 words. How exactly you have to divide those 250 words into these 3 parts, that is entirely up to you. If I were to give you a suggestion, I would say that probably 50 words should be kept for the introduction, 50 words should be kept for the conclusion, and the remaining 150 words you should just spend on body. On the body of the WAT, you should just spend half of the words in one. If there are 2 parts, if there are two ideas, 2 kinds of ideas that you have, then you should just spend half the time on one idea, half the time on the other idea. And then in conclusion, you should just weigh that which ideology is more superior according to your rational skills, your logical ability. And that is how you should write the conclusion about it. There are several structures that I'm just stating. If you want, you can just take a note of it. If there is any question, you can just keep yourself unmuted and then you can ask me about it. All right. So I just have to check. Do we have? Okay. We are still waiting for some people. All right. Moving on. Now, the type of WAT topics. There are 4 different categories in which we can divide different kind of topics. The first of them is the current affair. So you can have any topic from the current affair. There is a list of topics that I already have shared in a PDF file. You can just check some of those topics. And out of those topics only, there are 2 topics that we are going to practice here today in this workshop. There can be a few very abstract themes as well, in which you may have a topic that probably is too vague, and you have to give a shape to that particular topic. I also have a list of several abstract themes, and we will just discuss about those things. At least you will have an idea that what kind of things can be asked. The third is the business and economy related topics, because these days, because of tariff war, there are so many discussions going on which are impacting the business as well as the economy of different nations. You should have some idea about it. If you have not looked at this aspect, then you have 2 days to understand all these things, study about those things, because it's very likely that some of the questions might come from this area. If not in that, then definitely in interview, the questions might be asked around it. So it's very important that you just try to understand around these geopolitical issues that are going around. The last is the case-based or the opinion-based prompts as well, which can be there. So we have a few examples. We will see that which all topics might fall into these kind of 4 categories. These are different type of WAT topics. And here are some previous year topics which have already been discussed as WAT, but the only difference was that earlier the WAT used to be in a offline format, so you need to just have a pen and paper, you had to write. So there was no exact word limit because you cannot count how many words you are writing. But these have been the past few topics. Let's just quickly look at them so that you understand what all topics have been discussed, and you will have some idea about what topics can be asked this year. The first was the analyze the recent interstate migrant crisis that was going on last year. Moonlighting is one of the things that sometimes to some people might seem very vague, because not everybody knows about these kind of terms. So if you know about it, good. So moonlighting was one of the topics which for some people, I mean, in different discussion forums, I have seen people actually was really surprised because they had no idea what exactly this moonlighting is. Moonlighting is a process in which one full-time worker is also doing some side hustle. So the third point is considering the socio-economic diversity of India, discuss about the pros and cons of pan-national citizenship identity. So now you understand this is very, very easy to make the structure of, because you have to just clearly give the introductions. There are some pros, some cons, and finally you have to give the conclusion. So the third kind of topic is very, very plain vanilla kind of thing. You should never have any sort of problem in this. The fourth is how can India utilize the traditional heritage and values in its economic development? The farmer bill, okay, moonlighting it has already been considered. Fiscal stimulus passage, the artificial intelligence. Even this year, there is a great possibility that some topics of artificial intelligence might come in discussion, maybe in interview, maybe in WAT. So please be aware about it. Understand that what exactly is happening in the field of AI, what kind of mergers and acquisitions are happening. We should be aware of it. Is freedom of expression absolute? So this is a kind of thing in which some political ideas can be used. One thing that you have to keep in mind, if there is any WAT coming which may have some relevance with politics, it's very important for you to remain politically neutral, even if you have certain biases in that arena. Nobody likes the political views to overtake your logical skills. Therefore, it's very important if there is anything which is somewhere around political point, you have to be very, very neutral so that there is no question can be raised about your biasness when it comes to understanding and discussing a topic. So these were several other things. If you want, you can take a screenshot. If you want, I can share the PDF of this file as well so that you can just check it later. I think I already have shared the PDF file of these previous year topics in the group. Now comes these 4 steps: brainstorming and idea generation. How I look at this is that the first thing that you should be doing while you receive a topic, the first 5 minutes that we were discussing, that was all about making the mind maps. Understand what exactly the mind map is. You can just take it down as a step. When you practice a few WAT, you have to make sure that you follow this step. It's actually a very good idea. If you see the picture just next to it, what it represents is at the center, there is the topic. And then you are just bifurcating into 2 different themes. You are looking at the pros in one end, you are looking at the cons at the other end. But even they may have certain other various categories, certain other aspects of discussions. You have to just start writing all those keywords so that you have everything in mind while the ideas are flowing and you are writing WAT. You have all these things. Many a times it happens that people write WAT and then, when they have written everything, then they realize, okay, there is this one aspect that I did not even consider, which really has potential to make an impact on the reader. Right? So rather than postponing that kind of idea to come into existence, you should just spend 5 minutes understanding what all ideas are possible for you to incorporate in your WAT, and you should just make this kind of a mind map. We will once again see one example of it. Now, the second thing is that you have to balance fact, opinions, and examples. In this case, it's very important that you do not share only the opinions. It's important that you always share the facts, and the opinions should always be backed by those facts. They should be logical inferences of those facts that you already have written. The third is putting all those ideas into a structure. And the last is focus on clarity and over the complexity. You have to just write so that everything is very clear. There are no vague statements, so that the reader can understand the whole point of your WAT. Right? There are certain very static instructions that you can find anywhere, that you have to ensure that clarity and coherence and logical flow exist. You have to ensure that the vocabulary is not very difficult. The focus on vocabulary should be very minimal. It should be very easy to understand for every reader. You don't have to be Shashi Tharoor while writing it, even if you have very good vocabulary. Just make sure that it is a very conversational piece of writing. You have to use data, you have to use examples, and for that you have to spend next 2 days understanding anything that's going around in geopolitical situation, anything that is about the general knowledge these days. And the last thing is you have to avoid repetition of any particular point. Once you have made it, make sure that the next point is slightly different or entirely different from the previous point. Vague statements are strictly a turn off, so please avoid writing them. Now, several strategies for writing. Again, you should start with a hook. That means the start should be really very compelling. It should explain that you have understood the topic. How do you ensure that you have actually communicated your understanding of the topic is by several statistics, by some context that you are building around it. If there is something maybe abstract, then you should just write that what exactly is your perspective to understand this. Secondly, write it with very clear stance. Third, you should use real world example. Do not use hypothetical scenarios. You have enough real examples to use, so please use them. And finally, you end it with a powerful takeaway. That means the conclusion, again, I'm repeating that it should be very balanced, and it should be something that shows the next forward thinking. It shows that now you are resolving the kind of issues that exist around that particular topic. These are several strategies. We have a sample WAT topic. I think we will discuss about it. But right now we also have, I've invited one of our guests who actually is a graduate from IIM Bangalore. I thought that it would really be a great experience for all of us to just understand what exactly the experience has been. So here I will invite Anurag. Anurag, you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
So let me just introduce Anurag to everyone. Anurag has been one of the students, and he is the graduate from IIM Bangalore EPGP this year. While joining, he had about 5.5 years of experience working in a mini Ratna PSU company, Vapcos. And we went through various, psychological barriers when we actually were applying. There are several stories, but I would really appreciate if Anurag himself shared what exactly the stories had been around this WAT and the interview things. So Anurag, now the floor is open to you. And please share your experience if you remember, because it's been almost 1.5 years for you to have experienced all those things. Please share. How was your experience of writing WAT? How was your experience of interview? I think that would be very enriching for everyone here. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot, sir, for inviting me, and a very warm welcome to all the students here who are applying to IIM Bangalore this year. So thank you for the introduction, sir, because I would like to give my small brief on how I applied to IIM Bangalore. So I'm a mechanical engineer and having an experience of 5.5 years for working in a PSU. So I wanted to transition from my project management role into better opportunities available in the energy related space. So after completing 6 years, I applied to multiple B schools in the country. And for IIM Bangalore, there are multiple processes for you to get into it. So one is WAT, and after that you go through the interview process. So as part of the 2024-25 batch this year, the PGP cohort, and my topic for WAT was moonlighting basically. So I think sir has already articulated very well how the structure for should be for writing assessment tests. So what I did was follow a simple rule that you need to present your both cases, one in favor of the argument, one against the argument, and finally conclude with what is your stance on it. And there should be a very logical flow in terms of the writing of the essay, and it should be linked with the transitioning words, which are very important, which keeps the flow very logical. So and in terms of preparation, what you guys can do is uh, research about the latest topics in the current scenario right now. First things would be the global tariff scenario. Second would be the deglobalization scenario. Third is about renewable energy and green energy, which is taking up in terms of climate change and climate action, energy transition. And the most prominent, I think, would be the advent of AI in the modern world and how it is being used and what are the risks associated with it. So these are the core topics that you should research on more and have a good understanding, which will help you in WAT as well as in the interviews. So as far as my interview experience is concerned, it basically revolved around my previous experience since I am coming from an renewable energy background. So they asked me what sorts of role I did, what sort of managerial work I did, and what was the major business value impact that I created during those 5 years of working in that organization. So based on that, the whole interview was structured, and there are also some behavioral questions that you need to tackle. Uh, so be prepared for that as well. So yeah, that's about it. That has been my experience, and I've been fortunate enough to have been completed my MBA from IIM Bangalore. It was a wonderful experience.
Yes, just to add more information to it, Anurag actually also converted IIM Calcutta and
Yeah.
IIM Bangalore both. So he chose to take Bangalore, which was a very natural choice for anyone. And when it came to interviews, actually there were some times when actually we were worried. So the point is that you have to have really good command over your interview skills. For example, if I were to introduce Anurag further, I would say that he's not very outgoing person the way I see. I feel he's a person who keeps most things to himself, and when they are asked only then he presents all those ideas to the other person. But another thing that is very, very important about him is that very good about him is he's very, very disciplined and very, very hardworking. I still have all the SOPs and all the essays preserved because Anurag gave them to me in a very properly sorted folder, and I still have them and I still use all those things to share with so many other people. No, so he had very methodical approach. For so many things, he prepared so many PowerPoint presentations, even to come up with his long-term goal and short-term goals to just ensure that his interview questions were always taken care of, even while writing the SOPs, while writing the initial write-ups. So we had done almost 70% of the preparation of almost all the kind of interview questions from his background while writing all the write-ups only. So that is how it happened. Sometimes the interview process can be very, very intimidating as well. For example, I remember when he actually came out from the interview hall, I asked him, okay, what kind of people were there around him? And he said that there was one person sitting beside me. He was from McKinsey. There was another person who was also there with 7 years of experience. He came from Accenture, something like that. So, you don't have to worry about anything like that. All you have to focus on is what you know and how well do you know that. If you are very, very clear about your performance, then let it be the best thing, and then leave everything else on the fate. Let it decide whether you are going in or you are not going in. If you are honest with yourself, I think some good place will always be open for you.
Very true, sir.
Right? Right. So if anybody has any question that you want to ask, then please ask Anurag, because I think I would not like to just keep him here for this entire session, because it's no use for him to be here. Not that I'm pushing him out. Uh, right. But if anybody has any question, please feel free to ask him. And if there is none, then we'll just proceed. Any
And
question
maybe
that
I can
anyone
share
has?
my LinkedIn ID as well, so that if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask later as well.
Yes.
Hi, Anurag. Utsav this side.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, Anurag, I have only one question from you and Sir both. Did you use any hard metrics in your WAT, like some facts and figures? Because I'm struggling to remember, because there are so many facts and figures and it is not possible to remember them all. So did you use any, and what is your take around it?
So if you are very aware of the topic that is in question that has been asked, and if you have strong points to mention them and you have hard facts for it, then it will gain you some brownie points if you can add that in your essay. But even if you don't have very concrete facts, but your arguments are very logical and structured in the right way, even without facts, I think that also is fine.
Absolutely correct. Just to add to it, let me just tell you, Anurag, I just made Anurag write a few WATs before actually going through the process. And his WATs were actually full of a lot of statistics on several issues. I
Yes.
think I gave him one of around the greenwashing or something, if I remember it correctly.
Greenwashing, yes.
It's about the thing. And he wrote so many facts that even I was not aware of. So I was really impressed that he already had so much idea about that kind of a thing, right? I'm not really sure what he wrote in the moonlighting, because I have absolutely no facts about moonlighting. All I can do is just think about it logically,
Yes.
because that topic is right, because you don't have a lot of information about it. Moonlighting is done on in the hindsight. Nobody actually makes it very, very visible, right? So probably you may not have many facts around the topic, but there is a topic which if there is a topic which has the potential for facts included in that WAT, I think it's always a good idea to just showcase your knowledge, that you write a few facts. In several cases, I can also suggest that sometimes, the guesstimates also are a good thing to do.
Yes.
Guesstimates in a for example, I think yesterday I was just checking one of the WATs of one of my students, and it was on the brain drain from India. Right. So how many people are leaving this country? Should we really worry about the brain drain from India, or should we really focus on upskilling people so that whatever brain we are retaining, at least that skill set is being put into use? So I did not have great idea, but actually I framed several numbers around it. Let me share that with you very candidly, that my numbers were actually far off from the actual numbers, because later I checked the IIM site of MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, and my numbers were quite far off. I did not anticipate that so many people, that these many people are actually leaving. But then I also figured another trick way to figure out that even if so many people, maybe 1.3 million people every year are leaving country, but should we call it a brain drain? Do we really know that all those 1.3 people should be called actually the brain, which is being
Yeah.
drained from India? So that is also a question. You have to just put your ability to understand the topic properly. That everybody leaving the country should not be considered as brain drain. There are so many students going abroad, maybe in some university in Ukraine, which nobody knows about. Nowhere it is in ranking. You understand? So
Yes.
there are so many different reasons for it. But I think the guesstimates are also absolutely welcome. If you have no idea about it, at least you are putting things in context, so that the reader understands that even if you do not have facts, you are putting things in line, which is absolutely the right direction. Right, itself. Any other question that anyone has?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question. Hi, sir. Hi,
Yes.
Anurag. Thank you for sharing your experience, Anurag. I just wanted to know, in your WAT or your interview process, was there like any topic you were not fully aware of? And like, how did you tackle that? I mean, in terms of like any topic, not necessarily current affairs, in general, any question that came across that you were not fully aware of, and how did you sort of tackle that?
Yes, not specifically in the case of IIM Bangalore, but
Mhm.
for my IIM Calcutta interview, I was asked where do I come from. So I was working in Gurgaon during those times. So they asked me a question, ki why Gurgaon was renamed as Gurugram. So that was one question which found me very offbeat. So I tried to answer that with what are the implications of the name of when a city has its name being changed, in terms of the administrative costs and what the difficulties government offices will face. So I think you have to think on the spot. Just don't be afraid of any off topics that you are being thrown at. So just calmly take 2 to 3 minutes to gather your thoughts, and I think you can get through it easily.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
And just from this point, I think I also recalled experience of another student of WAT, and WAT was about the same thing. The cost of changing the names of city, is it really worth it? That was also one of the topics of WAT, right? I think it was about the cost of changing the names of maybe the Statue of Liberty, because these were two very hot topics at that point. So some WAT topic was also around the same thing. But anyway, once again, have to just make certain estimates that what would be the cost of these kind of changes and whether they really are worth it or not. Right. So the questions, then Anurag, I will say thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for sharing this 30 minutes with us. Right. If there is any need, if somebody just wants to get in touch with you, I'll be sharing your LinkedIn ID with them. And
Yes,
Anurag is
I have
very
already
generous.
posted it on the chat. So thank you so much, sir, for having me for this session.
Thank you so much. I would like to have you once again when the workshop around the interview goes on.
Definitely, sir.
Right. There is another guy that also I have just contacted. So maybe just we'll have different viewpoints around the interview prep once again. Right.
Sure, sir.
But thank you so
Thank,
much.
thank you,
Right.
sir.
Thank you. So I'll just now take this forward, and let's just see that one of the ideal should be. So I have just taken this one of the topics. I think it is very, very relevant for everyone for now. Just let's read about it. Take 10 seconds, understand the topic, then we'll see a sample word that I've written over there. All right. Now, when I said that, first of all, you should just make a mind map, I simply mean that just branch out whatever things, whatever ideas you are thinking to work upon. For example, when we are looking at this topic, we are probably thinking about, first of all, India's role in this global tariff war that is going on. Now, what could be two aspects that you would like to discuss? Number one is the protecting domestic interest, and there were Prime Minister already gave a speech around it that we are just taking some steps to protect the domestic interest. And second is sacrificing some global competitiveness. And there has been a debate going on that whether these tariffs are affecting the global competitiveness of the country, especially for India or not. You should just write down whatever points come to you. For example, tariffs help shield vulnerable sectors. Yes, there are so many sectors. Fishery is one of the sectors that was spoken of. And there were certain other small sectors which can be influenced by the tariff war, but the government is actually working towards protecting those kind of things, creating space for Indian firms to grow. On the other hand, tariff raise production costs, jeopardize global competitiveness. So how exactly are you going to expand over it? You can just expand this mind map into further other dimensions as well, so that you have fair amount of ideas to write on. And once you have those ideas, then you should start writing. So there are these 4 paragraphs that I've represented. The first one is the introductory. The second is what were the repercussions that actually happened. Third one is what was the reaction of India as a country, and then a small analysis. And the last is what exactly is the way forward that we feel is going to be for India. So in this WAT, you will see that there are so many statistics that have been used because I had internet at my disposal. So I just used all those information. But it is not necessary that you write so many statistics. Whatever the statistics you know, any statistic just helps. Just write them down. You can just take 2 minutes, read about it so that you have a structure in mind, and then we will proceed to the next exercise. That means actually practice 2 to 3 topics of it. Just take 2 minutes reading it.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So you said
Yes,
that
please.
the conclusion needs to take a size, right? Where you're saying you're giving a description about domestic interests, sacrificing competitiveness, and then we just conclude it saying, okay, we need to do both of it to a certain extent.
No, no, come again. I think I couldn't hear everything that you said.
So
Can you please say again?
I yeah, so I'm a bit confused when we said that the conclusion needs to either you take side A or side B, right? While in this conclusion we're saying we have to strike a balance, which is in reality we always have to take both sides. It's not one is clearly correct or not.
Yes,
So
the conclusion is not always out of soul. See, you always have to just put some opinion into that conclusion to take some clear stance.
okay.
Understand? For example, if I say that moonlighting, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the topic that we were talking about. Now, whether you say it's a good thing, I would have certain, arguments against it. And if you say that no, it's not really a good practice, I would also have certain arguments against it. But what exactly do you think based on whatever analysis you have done? That is absolutely fine. Whether you are going in favor or against does not matter.
So my question is, can you do as you've written here? India must now strike a balance per se. So can I
What
conclude that in
matters is
moonlighting?
the reason. Yes, you can.
So,
You can say
so I
that.
can
See, the
conclude that
moonlighting in several.
both instances can be correct depending on the context and the
Absolutely.
situation.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
If it comes to discussing moonlighting, I would say that to some extent, moonlighting is actually a good thing, because if you are working in IT company and if you are just moonlighting as a teacher, as a faculty somewhere, you're just taking some classes somewhere, you're just trying to get some competency somewhere which has nothing to do with IT. I would say it's a good practice because somebody is exploring another stream for. But if you are working for an IT company, let's say you're working for Infosys, and you are taking a side hustle on the similar kind of projects, then I think it is not really a good thing, because there is a possibility that you will actually be caught up into the copyright infringement. You are using one information, you are creating the inside information. So, moonlighting is actually a good practice. It is absolutely fine. But what kind of moonlighting is good and what kind of moonlighting is not good? That should be clearly distinguished. And if you have already written that in the body, then this is absolutely fine.
Got it.
You can just take both the stances according to different scenarios. So I think everybody must have gone through it. Let's just take a few practices. This is the topic that we already have covered. Just give all of you a topic. Since we have slightly less time, so maybe we will just let's spend 20 minutes. And if you guys have my number, you can just share with me whatever the output you have. I will try to do best to give you the personalized feedback on it. Let's just write on this one. This is again one of the topics that has always been very, very hot for the past couple of years. Let's just take 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It's 10:38. So let's say till 11 o'clock we should be done with it, and then we'll just pick up some and then we'll discuss about it. Is that okay? Everybody select topic on the screen. So everybody can see the topic on the screen. I'm just putting my number in the chat. Once you are through, you can just send it to me on WhatsApp and I will check and give you the feedback as much as I can this time. 20 minutes time start. All right, let's just continue our discussion. Uh, I have received 4 or 5 outputs. So what we are going to do now is let's just discuss all these things together. This is one of the outputs for everybody else to just read through it and then see what exactly is the point that can be criticized here, right? If we do it together, and we'll see with the climate change knocking at doors, developing countries like India faces major challenges in the trajectory for development. The games for the economy have changed and India has to make its own path, mostly untraveled by any developed economy of the world. India as a nation is doing formidable job in its green transition. Recently, Indian government is heavily investing in green hydrogen and alternate clean energy source with the target of becoming future hydrogen OPEC in the world. Okay, with the target of zero emission this sustainable energy, but are also investing in heavy consumption, which will drastically reduce our dependency on foreign dominance and also make India major supporters of clean energy and clean technology. Thus, I believe that India's green transition is a global case study and a great example that economic growth and sustainability go hand in hand. Is there anything wrong with this? Anyone? Let us just see it. Anyone? Is there anything wrong with it? If we were to criticize, what should that criticism be? 50% energy needs by renewable energy source not achieved it. Target by 2030, I guess. Okay. I mean, see, let's not criticize the facts if the facts are somewhere here and there. Is there something else? Is there some dimension that is missing? That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just reading it. And let me see what exactly is the topic. The topic that we had was India's green transition. Can economic growth and sustainability go hand in hand?
I think it does not answer the counter viewpoint, or means does not bring the counter viewpoint into the picture.
Absolutely correct. That is what I was waiting for someone to spot and notice. You know, the entire argument is just in favor. That means because you feel that it is definitely going to, I mean, the sustainability is also a way forward towards getting economic growth. You have written it from one viewpoint. The dimension that is missing here is that sustainability always slows down the growth. The reason is that any sustainable solution that we seek is not really as much, cost effective in the beginning. It takes a lot of time to even come at that break even. We keep saying that electric cars are really a good substitute, this and that, but there are so many companies which in manufacturing electric cars are actually incurring losses despite all the subsidies that are given by the governments. This does not give that kind of a viewpoint that sustainability, while it slows down growth, at least you should mention something like that. Because sustainability, had it been one of the finest ways to actually grow, then everybody would have harnessed that sustainability. But that's not the case. The companies are evading from being more sustainable and acquiring more sustainable ways to actually grow. The reason is that they are expensive and they always obstruct the growth in the crude way. So that is one of the feedbacks for this one. Let's just read the second one. Somebody has written the second thing. It was an event. I haven't read it, so I'll also read it just together. Again, the same counter viewpoint is missing in this case. Everybody read it? Can we move on? Even in this case, all the things are written only in favor. There is no question raised that the sustainability practices are really hard for companies to, harness. There is green accounting happening in India for maybe 15 years, and I'm telling you that so many people do not even know about there is anything like green accounting. There are some companies which are abiding by this government rules that they are just giving their green balance sheet and all these things about their carbon footprint reduction and etc. But commercialization of these things is still a far-fetched dream for to become actually reality. This is the third one. Let's just read through it. Just go story like Excel 2047 and 10. Let's try laser focus on sustainability. The same is also true. Who has written this? This is so beautiful.
I have written this. Utsav.
Wow. Wow, sir, this is so nice.
Thank you.
This is so nice.
Thank you so much.
I think this is very balanced. Everybody should read it. I hope everybody has gone through it. I think there is one more WAT that I've taken from someone. Let's just go through it. Okay, in the very first glance, it looks like it is slightly off topic. I think that's the only thing. And I think the second paragraph, fourth line is factually incorrect.
Can you tell the exact topic again? I just want to note it down.
The topic is India's green transition. Can economic growth and sustainability go hand in hand? I don't know. I don't know whose VAT is this, but when you say that most of India's growth has been in service sector with over 30% of our international exports are due to its IT services, an industry which relies more on human resource than natural one. I think IT is one of the sectors which generates significant carbon footprint. It generates significant carbon footprint. And the measures of going green in that particular segment are not really significant. And I think for this, the only feedback would be that here the economic growth has been discussed on one part, and the polluting practices or the sustainability has been discussed on another part. But the combination of the two is something that I feel is missing. That means economic growth along with this sustainability practices to be harnessed by the industries has not been discussed enough. That is the only criticism. Otherwise, it is very nicely written. There are some factual informations also written there. But I have some disagreement about some information in this one. That's the only thing. Does anyone have any question that you want to just ask in out of these four things that we have just taken? These are four bets that we have seen here on the screen. Anything that you want to ask, that whether it is right, it is wrong, whether we should do this or do that, anything. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, about the topics, Utsav, I will share with you the list of all those topics. I think I already have shared with you one list of topics in a PDF. I'll share that with you again, and this new list as well. Okay. I don't think that we have enough time to consider another WAT. So, do we want to write another VAT? How many takers are there? Okay, yes. Somebody has said. Okay, Ayush is there. We can write another topic, right? Chalo. Chalo, theek hai. So whoever wants to leave can leave. We will anyway just sit down and then just discuss one more web topic. Let's just write this next one. The Indian startup boom. This is something that is very well-known thing. The Indian startup boom, sustainable growth or funding bubble. Let's just give ourselves maybe 15 to 20 minutes at most. 15 minutes would be best if we can just write something about it, because then we will be able to check how good we are writing. This is easy topic. Start writing, take 15 minutes, write on this one. The Indian startup boom, sustainable growth or the funding bubble. We'll discuss this. Right, now we can discuss. I already have, I think, three WATs given by you guys. Let's just discuss them. The first one is this. So India's startup ecosystem has kicked off. I'm not paying attention to any spelling error or anything like that because that's not the point. The point is paying attention to the depth, and yes, some grammar as well, some facts as well. So India's startup ecosystem has kicked off, especially after Prime Minister Modi's Make in India campaign. These startups are already attracting significant global capital and signifying faith and the strength of the Indian economy. On one hand, startups expansion provide numerous opportunities to Indian founders to raise capital and grow their business. There are certain benefits given to the Indian startup to promote and grow them. Firstly, new companies coming up create competition, which is essential in the economy. Socially, also, it seems just to provide an opportunity to new founders. Secondly, it gives rise to innovators, which is essential in a developing country like India in a rapidly changing business landscape. New ideas and new solutions to the problems are essentially not only from the point of view of the country, but also from the global perspective. Lastly, it attracts foreign capital into the country, which signifies the strength of economy. However, many of these startups fail and erode the investors' capital only. Only a select number of startups are profitable. In such cases, startups can also be seen as funding bubbles, especially if the growth is not sustainable. Anyone who would like to criticize this? क्या कमी है इसमें? Let's just discuss it. I see several shortcomings here. I don't know whose write-up it is, but let's just try to criticize it for the good. The first thing that I see is so many things it has been written that the startups are actually benefiting only the founders. No, they are not benefiting the founders. I think we have to just expand that perspective that startups are basically benefiting so many people. The number of employment opportunities have increased significantly. The creativity has actually found its space in the market. One thing. Second thing that is very clearly missing, which we could easily have incorporated in topic like this, is we could have just used some examples of startups and why exactly they are failing. Why exactly is that funding bubble? Right. So there are several failed startups which were of $1 billion worth. For example, one of these startups was Byju's that failed. It had valuation, I think, in the range of $30 billion. If I'm not wrong, yes, 32 or $28 billion at most, and now its valuation has come to zero. There was another startup that was in automobile segment, and because of the problem of corporate governance, actually its valuation has come to zero because the founder was found cooking books. So whether they are sustainable or not, and why they are not sustainable, that point is somehow somewhere missing here. I mean, personally, my opinion is that a startup boom is not a bubble and it should have sustainable growth. But a lot of funding that they are generating, because of which they have a lot of pressure, undue pressure to deliver the results, while the results will take some time to come into picture. And because of that immense pressure, the issues of corporate governance are coming into picture. Some malpractices are being opted by the new startups, and for that reason, they are failing. Not because the idea is bad. Probably the ideas are good. So that aspect I feel here is slightly missing. Hence, it becomes important for the investors to do proper due diligence before investing. Now, who are we suggesting? Because the investors are private equity investors and they have done every due diligence. They have different kind of rationales to invest in different kind of businesses. One, because they want to invest in business and they want to be seen in the market that they are really prominent investors. Secondly, they are diversifying their portfolio. So we should not question the rationale of investors. We should just try to analyze whether that is actually creating the funding bubble or not, because there are certain businesses and companies, investors are investing in them just because they think it can survive, just because they are just looking after grabbing bigger pie of the market. They are investing heavily, the businesses are burning cash, and I don't know how much sustainable they are. We could have talked about maybe a business like Cred, in which there are huge losses that are being incurred. Actually, in every startup, there are so many losses. Zomato has come up with profitability. Now Swiggy, we are discussing, it has actually faced investment from people and through IPO and from angel investors as well. And it is still burning losses, and its losses are doubling every quarter, something like that. So talk about it, whether it's really funding bubble or it is sustainable. I think since the market in one segment is monopoly or duopoly, so in that case, probably it's not funding bubble. I think that strategy is probably good. That strategy was opted by uh, Amazon as well, which actually delivered profitability after incurring losses for 17 years consecutively. So that strategy is not bad, provided the market is being captured majorly by those organizations and they are becoming the market leader. Because eventually, if they have become the market leader, they will start generating profitability very good. But here I see that dimension missing. We should not talk about the rationale of investors. We should not talk about only the startup founders. We should talk about the startups in general, the good of it, whether they are sustainable or not. The sustainability aspect is missing here. Now, this is the second write-up that I've got. Let's just see. India is a major growing economy of the world. The growth story of India is also fueled by startups. A scheme like Startup India and Make in India has given push to new startup. There are different mudra loans given to MSME sectors of India by which it is helping. Okay, government is pushing the workforce to shift from being job seeker to job creator. A lot of startups enjoy tax holidays. This startup boom is gaining its momentum and India is improving in its ranking of ease of doing business. Urban India startup boom is fueled by funding from various foreign lending institutions, like SoftBank and other venture capitalist funds. The startups like Zomato have provided job opportunity to a lot of people who can contribute to the gig economy. However, we have seen a lot of startups failing. With still a lot of red tapeism and bureaucratic hurdles, the startups are facing challenges to survive. The startup boom can be sustainable with the right policies. That is good. The only problem is that the second last paragraph should have been expanded slightly more, and maybe the first two paras should have been shrunk a little. Because why exactly the startups are failing and how can the startup business become more sustainable? That part should be focused. And we should also just attack this word that whether it is a funding bubble. Probably it's not a funding bubble. Now we say that the startups are going through the phase of funding winter. So funding winter has come because the investors have started become wary of their investment and now they are just looking at business which can result in profitability. Now their perspective is shifting. So calling it a funding bubble may not be right at the moment. I think there was a time when blind funding was being given to every different kind of startup, but now that phase is over. So again, in this case, what I see is lacking is the second last para I feel should have been expanded a little. The reason of their failure should be mentioned in detail so that we can also focus on what kind of practices can make them more sustainable. This is the third output somebody has given. Startups, a new driver of economy, has caught not only interest of youth and entrepreneurs, but also the attention of governments. In the Union Budget, government has rolled out several policies and credit schemes for startups. This would not have been the case unless this system of startups promised the potential for a sustainable growth. However, this nation is not truly reflected in the market. It is not to analyze the startup boom with a single lens. Over several years, companies have been burning the investors' cash to capture the market. Companies like Zomato, Paytm, Amazon, Flipkart, etc. have left no expense to bite the bigger market share. Over time, this strategy has upset several investors and that reflected in the decreased fund available in the market. However, over time, significant shift in policy of startups are seen from capturing market to conquering profits. Also, companies have shifted to other options of funding like loaning out IPOs. With the new shift towards profit making, shows greater potential of sustainable business. The development of country depends on the percentage of investment by private sectors, MSE and startups. With this incentive provided by government like PLI schemes, credit scheme, and the division of categorization in the teams of turnovers. Along with the policy shift by entrepreneurs, it can be concluded that Indian startup ecosystem is moving towards a sustainable growth. This still looks like a very well balanced. Although there are no statistics, only a few examples are given, but still in the last these 2-3 things, this looks more balanced thing. If I were to criticize it, I think I would only say that the reason for failure of a startup has not been discussed here, and therefore the discussion on sustainability is to an extent incomplete. The sustainability discussion cannot complete without discussing the reason of them to not be sustainable. Two aspects were to be captured in this WAT. First was sustainable business. Second was funding bubble. When it comes to funding bubble, you discuss about the investors' shift of perspective. When it comes to sustainability, you should discuss about the reason of failure and what is giving them more sustainability. So many practices are being brought by the government actually to make more transparency in the operation of so many startups, and that in turn is going to cause the startups to become more sustainable, because if they are transparent, then they will clearly show everything to every stakeholder, and that way more transparency will result in more sustainability probably. That could also have been one of the instances. So in the last 2-3, once again, the sustainability aspect has not been captured by most of them. That is the only feedback that I want to give. And this, I think is, oh, this is the old one. So is there any question that anyone has at any point? If there is none, then I think we are just going towards the closer. These are several abstract topics. If you want, you can take the screenshot of it. Again, these are the topics that I've thought are more contemporary. I wanted to discuss one more WAT on when algorithm decides. This is kind of an abstract topic related to AI. Some such topics should be practiced. So please do that. Take a note of these topics, take a screenshot, and then do practice these WATs. We already have discussed what are the major things that we need to focus on. Every WAT so far that I have received, the good thing is that the articulation was very good. Everybody has tried to bring in some facts, some figures, some examples. So that ways the practice is only making our outputs better. I think that is the practice that you have to do maybe for one more day, so that day after tomorrow you can really deliver the results that you deserve to deliver. Right? I hope you have taken it. The closing and key takeaways are that WAT is basically about the clarity and depth, the structure, and about awareness. Pay attention to these three words. Do practice under time. Develop your own writing style. Writing style of everyone that has given me these WATs is really good. Stay updated with the current issues. And with this, I would say thank you for the session. If nobody has any question to ask, I think I will close it up.
Sir, if time permits, can you quickly review mine also?
So let me share the review of your WAT personally. Okay?
Sure, thanks.
Chalo. I think it was really nice workshop, and I hope people are taking away something from this.